Hello and welcome to a very, very special video today. Today, you are going to see an interview between myself and the wonderful Pablo Kuntz, who was the voice actor for Albert Wesker in the 1996 OG Resident Evil. This interview was conducted back in 2020 as part of a project that I was doing. And he has very kindly allowed me to put it up on here for you guys. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Pablo is an absolute gem. So enjoy.
But yeah, thanks for taking the time today
No
to
problem.
speak RE.
No
Have you been
problem at
watching
all.
some of my sons? I've been playing this game, you know. You've been
Yeah.
watching this on YouTube. I've been playing it,
Yeah.
you know.
It's
Well, I'm
fantastic.
watching him play,
Yeah.
but
Ha-
it's really got me closer to the whole situation, you know, like understanding the game, so I
Yeah.
can speak to you today more with you know, just a bit more understanding
Yeah.
of how it goes and why it, you know, what understanding the enthusiasm, the tribalism, it's unbelievable, you know, like just like the fervor around this thing, you know.
Yeah. The
So it's
community is huge.
the
So,
community is massive,
yeah.
and I had no idea. So, but it's been a lot of fun, you know, like, but yeah, he's enjoying it, and I think he enjoys those Saturday afternoons. Well, he plays next to me.
Yeah.
So how it works basically is every second Saturday. So yesterday we filmed for uh, I don't know, we must have played for 3 hours, pretty
Oh,
much 3 hours
wow.
straight, you know,
Yeah.
and then that'll be edited by, because during the week he's going to school and stuff, so he doesn't have much time to edit. But
Yeah.
on next Saturday, he's actually quite good at the Premiere Pro, and then I
Oh,
come in and I go and I say, well, how about bring this and this, and I just help
yeah.
clean it up a bit, you know,
Oh,
and then that's how we get down to about an hour or so,
yeah.
and but during the week he's answering to some of those comments from, you know, from people, and he's feeling
Yeah.
like a little mini silver star. He's only 12, you know,
Oh, bless.
so it's a lot of so that's a lot of fun, and but it's given us some time, you know,
Yeah.
like I mean other dads would play football, but he's not really a football sports kind of guy, you know.
Yeah.
So you just gotta, and I'm not gonna make him, you know. Like some dads will kind of, you know, my kid will play, you know. You can see, you know, like the determination. But your kid doesn't like playing. Doesn't matter. I played, you know. So you gotta go with the kid's strengths and what he's
Oh,
really interested in and
definitely.
stuff, you know.
Definitely.
So
I mean,
we did, you know.
my parents, they didn't like me sitting up in my room playing video games. They were trying to get me to go outside. But
Right.
nowadays they're just like, because I live stream over on Twitch.
Mhm.
My mum's like, why didn't we support you earlier?
Stop it! Don't open that door!
But Chris is.
What is it? Maybe it's Chris.
Okay, so first question
Yeah.
then. How
Mm.
did you come to get the role of Albert Wesker? Was there an audition process that you had to go through?
So yeah, this I've sort of wrestled with a little bit, but I trying to rack my brain as to how it happened, because you know back in the day when I was freelancing in Tokyo, I
Mhm.
was going to auditions all the time, you know, whether it's because I was kind of dancing between modeling and these acting gigs
Yeah.
and some voice stuff, and I didn't go there and for that reason. I went there as an English teacher, but I quit that after 6 months and
Yeah.
decided to see what else I could do there. You know, you're young and just whatever. So unlike any other job I would do, there was always an audition. But this was one of the first voice roles that I had, and of course I had to put together a voice tape, you know, like
Hmm.
an audition or whatever, you know, a demo reel, right? So with no work, I just made up the stuff. Like I just, you know, like I need to have different sound bites. So I pretended to
Yeah.
be a DJ, pretended to do this, and I think that, but they need something to kind of go by, because most of the time, a lot of voice work, from what I understand, and I think even to this day, well, people might audition. Well, now it's all, you know, around the world. It's easy to like submit sound files. But
Yeah.
back then, even then in Tokyo, you wouldn't generally, although it happened a couple of times, you wouldn't generally show up and read the lines and then say bye bye. It was like it was because it was on the voice, and they didn't care what you looked
Hmm.
like, as you know, with acting like that stuff. So I think that I submitted the voice, the demo tape, but it was through Sergio. You know, like Sergio Alarcon or Sergio Jones that you
Oh
see
yeah.
being, like he's a friend of mine, and I think that he had. This is my gut feeling. I think he had connections with the production company
Hmm.
that needed to find people for the for
Yeah.
it all, right? So how it works, Capcom would have hired somebody because Capcom is not going to directly find the voice talent, right? They're going
Yeah.
to contact somebody. So a production company would then sometimes hire voice agencies, and so either he sent the tape to a voice agency, but I think he had some connection with that production company. I'm
Hmm.
fairly certain of this. The reason why I say that is because his brother Clay, the guy Richard, is it Aiken?
Oh
The
yeah,
guy
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like, where he's like dying, like, snake bite,
There's a
whatever
huge
it is.
snake.
Yeah, exactly. It's huge snake. I know Clay, and the fact that Clay was part of this whole thing seems I did, because he's not. He never did any of this kind of stuff, But I think he just needed to fill a role. So
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that he, it was through Clay that, or through Sergio. So I think Sergio helped at least get my foot in the door
Hmm.
in terms of getting the demo, and then I don't know, Capcom. Either Sergio told me, I'm sorry, I can't remember, but either Sergio told me or I got uh, directly notified that I got the job, right?
Okay.
So it wasn't a formal audition process. It wasn't a room of 50 guys all reading the lines, nothing like that. It was more of a, in Japan, it's like who you kind of know and
Hmm.
which agency, and sometimes you just get jobs because that agency you're with happens to have a connection with that production company, and it
Yeah.
gets kind of chummy, in that sort of thing, And I
Yeah.
just was in the right place at the right time, and but they probably listened to like maybe 10, 20 different voices,
Hmm.
probably, but nothing like 200 or something like that,
Oh
or
yeah.
300 or nothing. I'm not going to tell you I was one of 1,000 chosen. There's no way. There's just no chance of that. So and I plus because I didn't have much experience, and they didn't. I think Capcom's got this reputation of working a bit on a shoestring budget kind of thing. I don't think they had a lot of money to go and throw at this
Yeah.
either, because it was a kind of experimental project through and through. Because they even hired IMO, which is another agency. I know Eric Pirius, who did Wesker,
Hmm. Yeah.
the live action stuff, right? IMO is another agency, it's a freelance agency. He would have shown up for that audition,
Yeah.
probably. But IMO was kind of known for being kind of on the cheap to do these productions, and so all those people were, like you can tell there's different agencies, and they did a lot of extra work, so they
Yeah.
wouldn't have charged very much either. So I think money had part to do with who they chose, and
Hmm.
which agencies they worked with, and because there's different, just like in the modeling industry, you have like the top models are going to work with the top agencies, but then
Yeah.
that comes with the top money, so they steered away from all that. And but not so much with voice, but certainly with the the live action stuff.
Yeah.
So but that's how I got the role. Really, just an audition process that was not done in person.
Hmm.
It's selected by a production company that worked with Capcom, and I got the script beforehand, and so on. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Perfect. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's like not what you know, it's who you know, kind of thing.
A little bit like that, yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to think because I would have met Sergio at some kind of audition. We would have worked on a few other gigs, and he says, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Well, I'm sure the conversation would have gone something like, I just,
Yeah.
quit my English teaching job, looking for work, and then he would have said, oh, wait a second, I got something here potentially here. Do you have a
Yeah.
tape? I go, yeah, here's a tape. Okay, good. I'll send it over.
Oh,
I'm 20,
fab.
I'm 23 or 24 at the time, right? So I'm not very old. So,
Yeah.
just like kind of starting off and
Yeah. Oh,
that kind of
wow.
thing. Yeah,
Brill.
yeah. So it was, yeah, definitely a who happened to be in the right place, right time kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So if you can hear drilling, my neighbour's doing something.
Yeah,
It's
yes, okay.
quite loud.
Yeah, yeah, no worries at all. No
Um,
worries at all.
oh, it's so annoying. On my day off as well, my last day off. Um, okay, so Resident Evil, or Biohazard as it's known in Japan, almost instantly became a success. It had so
Mm.
many firsts and built on already existing horror tropes to create something new, fresh, and terrifying. Did you have any idea at the time how popular Ari would become as a franchise?
Zero, zero,
Zero.
zero, zero. I had no idea how popular it would be. It was really just a job, and it was relatively well paid because I remember I'm freelancing, but this is like voice works a bit more. So remember, I'm backpacking. My job is to try and get as much sort of pocket money I can so I can go to travel in Thailand and other places for 4 months without having to worry about cash too much. So, but had zero sense as to what I don't even remember whether we even knew this was for a game, but I think we did. But I didn't really clock in so much. It was really just, and you think back when you're 22, 23, you're just like, any work that you're like, kind of, you're doing,
Yes.
you're not that serious about it, like you're going in and you want to do a good job. Don't get me wrong. I had the script and I was working on some of the lines, but I didn't get any coach beforehand to get in there big time and think, I really want this to be a big success, and I hope RE becomes huge and that I'll become, well known for a voice. Just none of that even crossed my mind. I wanted to do a good job.
Yeah.
But I completely forgot about forgot about it. Yeah, forgot about it. I don't think we even knew it was called Biohazard or Resident Evil at the time.
Oh.
I don't. That's that. I'm quite certain of that. And the reason why is because if it was really well known, I could be wrong, but I mean, it could be just me just not noticing. But I would have clocked in when I saw posters of Biohazard or Resident Evil, because they were advertised. Not so much the game, but the movies, I think, right? When I think about it, it was more the movies. The movies were well promoted in Japan. But that was a bit later. But the actual game itself would have been very underground. So would I have come into contact with those that were playing the game, or no? I had no idea. Just really had no clue.
Yeah.
That's the honest truth. It was more like, get the job done, do as best you can. Thank you very much. And okay, what's the next audition for the next job, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you must have been just like, when you found out, oh my God, what is this,
Well, that's just it, right? If
Yeah.
you've listened to some of my interviews in the past, I didn't know until 3 years ago, right? I didn't know. Just 3 years ago, I found out this was, because this was through one of my sword videos, and I'm introducing a Japanese sword, and somebody asked me, is it true you are the voice of Albert Wesker? And I was like, but then it was like, what's that Albert? What's that name, right? And then of course I do a search on YouTube, and then to my shock, horror, I'm like, and I see Sergio's name, and Sergio's getting credit for all this. I mean, it's clearly it's really weird. Like, imagine your friend, and it's like, and her name is, Jennifer Smith, and you click on Jennifer Smith and it's your voice. It'd be really weird, right? This is exactly what happened. I was like looking at Sergio, and it's like, and I think that's why I think Sergio was part of it, because maybe they made a mistake. He credited his name. I don't know how. I really have no clue because how he got to get credited for it. But it was really 3 years, and I was like really surprised, and I wasn't even sure whether I wanted to even fess up to it, because everybody was making fun of the voice acting, and I thought maybe it's good that Sergio gets all the heat for this, and not me.
Yeah. God.
But then I saw, well, this is gonna be kind of cool, and I should embrace this, because this was really part of my past, and so I took me maybe 2 weeks to reply to that YouTube comment saying, yeah, that was me, blast from the past, and all of a sudden, like,
I bet.
We knew it. It wasn't Sergio. It has nothing to do with it. Like all these second language guys, from like South America, even they can say, but his voice, not like that, like, so I couldn't, actually, I'm quite surprised how many people that are not from and not speak English for the first language are big into RE, right?
Oh,
I'm not sure you have any idea. That's huge,
Yeah.
like in Brazil and South America and France, and
Yeah.
I have a
Everywhere.
lot of everywhere. So yeah, I had no idea. Yeah.
Wow.
It's the real truth. I had no idea. Yeah. It's
surreal.
really cool.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, wow. I mean, the next question kind of goes into that a little bit. So it's only relatively recently that it was discovered that you were the voice of Wesker. What was it like when you were first approached by the community about your part in the game? The RE community is generally quite welcoming. How has the experience of joining us mad lot been for you?
It's been really, words can hardly express the sort of the welcomed spirit from the community, right? I think
Yeah.
just how, because I was a little bit apprehensive, naturally, because everybody was ripping apart the voice actor, but in that there were nuggets, you see, in the
Hmm.
comments. I would, for every 8, it's a little bit like when you're searching for a house or a hotel to stay in, you see like, positive, 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 then you notice the negative, and then you're like, not
Yeah.
so sure. In this case, it was kind of like negative. It was, the reason why I say negative is like they were comparing the voice acting over the
Hmm.
last 5 generations and stuff, right? And people would say first generation, like Sergio, and then they'd go on and say we love, I forget the actors' names, but they love I forgot his name anyway,
Oh
but
yeah,
later on,
yeah.
yeah, but that's some of the big names, and so we love him, because of, and a lot of them. But then once in a while, somebody would say, he sounds like the most natural and the less evil sounding guy.
Hmm.
I like him the most, and
Yeah.
so I had some fans, and I thought, maybe I should just embrace this,
Oh yeah.
so that's why I said yes, okay, I'll so so I want to let you know that there was some sense of apprehension to go and come
Oh
forth in a
yeah.
sense, but once I did, and you own it, right, and you say, and I'm definitely owning it because I'm making recreations of it and everything, because for my son and everything, people are like, wow, that guy, you know, owns it, and we appreciate it. And
Hmm.
and a lot of people thought that there would be no chance we'd ever hear from anybody from that first
Yeah.
or RE1, right? It's just like, okay, just we don't know anybody, nobody wants to come forth, and
Hmm.
everybody's afraid of being ridiculed. Maybe I think Barry has had the chance of coming. I mean, he's done a couple interviews,
He's
so
done a
to
few,
his credit,
yeah, but I think he has had quite a lot of negativity, bless him.
Mm,
So he's sort of
mm,
like moved away from it,
yeah, yeah,
which is a
and
real
I get that.
shame. Yeah.
I mean, I get that he's a bit older. I mean, he must be in his 60s for sure.
Hmm.
Because he's visibly older than me when I was playing. But the Resident Evil, Let's Talk Resident Evil. I did a podcast with them not too
Hmm.
long ago,
Yeah, yeah.
and they told me on the phone. He says, "Dude, I want you to let you know you're my favorite Wesker. Like you really are my favorite Wesker." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Wow, and like we're not just interviewing you because of bad. Like, honestly, you changed our lives. You have
Oh
no
yeah.
idea. Like in some
Agreed.
ways, like they
Yeah.
said all these kind of weird." And I was like, "Wow, like." And so that's the kind of connection that anybody
Hmm.
would want to hear. So it was that welcoming spirit, the nostalgia,
Hmm.
because I think people are really, I mean, the timing of this with this whole COVID crap and everybody stuck inside, people are, I think, feeling a bit more nostalgic nowadays.
Oh
I
yeah.
think just because of times past and the ease of travel and the ease of everything,
Hmm.
right? Now everything is like just locks and chains and stuff. So people are gravitating to places, the times that made them most happy, and they
Yeah.
think, and they remember, and so me playing the game and enjoying that time, and a lot of people coming forward saying like, oh man, like I played the game with my mother or
Yeah.
my father, and or alone, and they wondered what I was doing, but
Yeah.
watching him play reminds me of when I played, right?
Yeah.
So there's a whole mix of gratitude that we're doing it so that they can beam back to that time as a kid.
Hmm.
So they're quite they're appreciative of that big time. I feel that, and also just I know it's just like a source of times of a special time, of maybe freer times. I've come to feel that from people
Yeah.
it makes me really happy. I can't wait to see it, not just because I wanting to see how we finish this game and how we get through this game, but
Hmm.
they generally it time warps them back,
Oh yeah.
So
Definitely
I've been
agreed with
this
that.
kind of bridge for people to kind of tap into something that was special for them, and
Yeah.
so it's been overwhelming
Oh, I
in some
bet.
regards, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Nothing negative. Surprise. Some people are saying, "How did you not ever play this game?" Or how does it, like, how could this be? Or like you don't understand it.
Yeah.
But like I say, just great feedback.
Oh,
Great
I bet.
feedback. Nothing. I can't say that people have been you know negative or or making fun of voice. And if anything, that's the whole thing. It's all kind of worked, right? That whole I can see now, like it's like got this kind of roadblocks, kind of pixelization of things. Everything was very new, and
Yeah.
the voice kind of matched. Everything matched. It wasn't too slick, right? It couldn't be too slick. And I think that's the
Yeah.
point. The whole game is not too
Well,
slick.
yeah, it's
It's
very
slick
B
in some ways.
movie, isn't it? It's
Yes, that's right.
yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
brilliant. I mean,
Yeah.
you mentioned about nostalgia. I'm very much the same with that because I can remember playing it when I was younger.
Mm.
I think I first picked it up in 1998.
Wow.
So I wasn't very old at the time. I was 10.
Yeah.
It
Right.
scared the crap out of me.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, no,
Um,
I've
but
right.
it started my love of Resident Evil, that and RE2, which I played just before. But Wesker
Mm. Right.
became my favorite from the get-go. I've loved him ever
Right.
since. Yeah, and
Oh
that's all
wow,
because
that's
of you.
fantastic.
So
Oh well, that's
amazing.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel privileged. That's great.
Oh,
Yeah, I
bless
mean,
you.
like, really, people have mentioned that, like they somehow the character has resonated with them at a time that, and a lot of people saying like exactly like 6 years
Mhm.
old. I think the guy
Yeah.
from Let's Talk Resident Evil was like 6. I'm like, kind of parent is letting you play that at 6? Like I'm sure they had no idea what you were doing. And yeah, I kept on dying, I kept on dying. But yeah, young, right?
Yeah.
Young and the impression, and it's the problem solving. I can see that, right? That the clues and the elation when you figure something out, and right, it just
Yeah.
feeds you,
Oh, yeah.
and that's quite special. That's quite special. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can see. Yeah. So that's right. Nice to know. Nice to know.
Oh, brilliant.
Why Wesker for you at the beginning? Like, why was it just? Because haven't even seen him actually yet, except for the very
For the
beginning. We're
very
playing this game
beginning.
with Nelson.
I can't really explain it. I mean, obviously you've got the first scene with him in, and he's like, "What a mansion!" and all that
Yeah.
jazz,
Yeah.
And I was just
Right. Right.
like, "There's this guy with sunglasses, all
Mm,
dressed in black. He looks a little bit
mm.
sus."
Right. Right. Yeah, he looks a little bit sus,
Yeah.
but he's part of the team, though.
Oh, yeah,
You think.
exactly.
You
And you
think. Right.
think
Yeah.
at the start that he's a really good guy, and as you play through, actually, he's
Mm.
not.
And
And
that's the thing, right? That's the thing. It's the surprise, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, and I think it was that surprise that got me hooked on the character. Definitely
Mm.
one of my favorites in the
Oh,
franchise. So
fantastic.
yeah,
Fantastic. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
So just on the subject of the script, because you mentioned that briefly, were you asked during recording to sort of up the ante on the lines, or do you think it was all down to the translation from Japanese to English?
Okay. Yeah. So I've talked about this in the past, and I've got my couple theories in this one. So first of all, it's the Japanese English for sure. That's part of it, right?
Hmm.
But let me take you back to a lot of the TV commercials that I'm doing, right? So a lot of TV spots in Japan are quite short, sometimes 10 seconds, 15-second shots. They're very short ads, right?
Yeah.
And a typical situation why they would hire a foreigner is because they want to have this dichotomy against the Japanese guy and the
Hmm.
Japanese, like for example, a Japanese businessman who's typical, reserved, and he's serious, and then you have the flailing, angry, or really happy foreigner with emotions everywhere, like kind of like a
Yeah.
child in a sense, emotional. So in order to get that across in a commercial, you tend to overact.
Hmm.
They want you to overact, actually. So I come over, like for example, and say, okay, Pablo, Mr. Tanaka going to come to you, and please use surprise face.
Hmm.
And this is, they would say to Japanese English. This is typical Japanese. I'm not trying to be
Oh,
funny.
no.
This is exactly how our conversations go. The
Mhm.
English is all the articles are gone. Pablo, please make a surprise face. So I'll go like, wow, and then he'll come and Pablo, much of the overaction. And so I'd be like, wow, and then the face is big and then dramatic, and it's totally over the top, and then he'd be like, and then angry with something that we've done wrong,
Hmm.
and then I fix it, or the new product comes over, and then he's happy, and then I'm happy, and then we're smiling, and it's all big happy. So it's all over the top stuff.
Yeah.
And if you've watched any Japanese movie, they tend to act that way. Actually, have you ever seen a Japanese movie? They
Yeah.
all the samurai movies are all like, oh, like they're either crying or they're like kabuki, like they're over the top acting,
Yeah.
because they themselves are not Americans are just good actors because they're
Mhm.
just acting all the time, like, and
Yeah.
I'm Canadian, so I can say that. But but Japanese are like always more under, they're, they're more calm and they're
Yeah.
understated, and
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
it's just a populated country in a small island, it's a little bit like England, like
Mhm.
people are not over the top. America, the bigness of the personality, I think, matches the geography. I never came up with that until probably today, but I think
Oh,
it's probably
yeah.
some part of it,
Very true.
right, right. Now, when you think about it, so so that's that. I think I know that was part of it. Why when we did the voice, coming into the studio, and I'm like, wow, and it would have been wow with big exclamation mark, what a
Mhm.
mansion exclamation mark. I mean, I wouldn't have said it if it was just like, wow, what a like dot dot dot, what a
Yeah.
mansion. It would have been wow. And so like and then maybe even in caps. I don't
Mhm.
want to say definitely it was, but I looked at it and I was like, wow, what a mansion. I'm like looking at looking around, like thinking this is a big place, but we
Yeah.
didn't have any of the. Looking at it now, it's like totally over the top, like because they used to just walking in and said, don't open that door, like it's like why are you screaming at me? And that should be her line after, like
Yeah.
you're take it easy now, but we didn't have any of those visual cues
Mhm.
whatsoever, right? We had no idea what he was going into or any of
Yeah.
that,
Oh my
so
goodness.
so it was, I think, partly of just you know getting used to overacting in these commercials, that I brought that in, and that's
Mhm.
all I really had in terms of experience before that. Never did on any other game before, so I didn't have any idea like what would be most natural. This is all sort of so new,
Yeah.
and then of course the Japanese English is part of it. So I think it's really a combination of the typical sort of over the top way of the commercials, of my experience as an actor itself. The Japanese English, the stop it. It's not even stop, right? Stop it.
Mhm.
Don't open it.
Yeah.
It's these weird little extras that they do, right?
Yeah.
That makes it sound Japanese, so therefore you act Japanesey. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what. And although I don't remember him saying it, I wouldn't have been surprised if they said, "Oh, Pablo, more,
Mhm.
more action." There
Yeah. I
wasn't a lot
mean,
of feedback, but
I
that's
know
really majorly.
for Resident Evil 3, Nemesis, the actor for Brad Vickers said that when he was doing the lines, they were coming to him and saying, "No, I need it to be more, 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 more." So,
Oh, you said
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Did he record in Japan?
I think he did. Yes, yeah. I'm going to be
Okay.
doing an interview with him soon as well, so I'll find out and let you know.
I think when I think about it, I think one of my first interview was with um, Nemesis, right?
Oh
Nemesis
yeah,
is one of these
I've
Resident
listened
Evil,
to that one. Yeah.
and so yeah, I think he just interviewed Brad Vickers recently,
Hmm.
so that should be interesting. So I should really listen to that
Yeah.
actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
Evan's a lovely chap. Lovely
nice
chap.
guy,
So
right? He
yeah.
looks like a nice guy from the picture, but
Yeah.
that would be typical,
Hmm.
honestly, Samantha, yeah, or Sam. So call you Sam, Samantha, right?
Sam.
Sam,
Yeah, that's
Sam, yeah.
fine.
So, but is that, yeah, more,
Hmm. Yeah.
that's just that it's almost like Japanese, like when you're acting, you have to show acting,
Hmm.
and that's just really how it is in Japan, it
Yeah.
really is. And it's weird because they get into that, because I had a few actor friends in Japan, um, and they were just like sort of, like kind of Japanese, like,
Uh-huh.
Japanese, like they're
Yeah.
just not, beep, 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 but then all of a sudden I saw them. I went to some of his things on stage,
Yeah.
like Kusano-san. He's like, oh, like, and I was like, wow, like really, he's really getting into it,
Yeah.
But
Oh.
and so when you're living there, and remember, Barry would have been living there for easily 15 years
Hmm.
before, right?
Yeah.
So he's totally into it. His wife, I'm sure, is Japanese, and so these guys, and you turn, that expression that you think I'm turning Japanese, I'm turning Japanese. You ever heard
Yeah.
that song? You turn Japanese a little bit when you're there. Like you start
Yeah.
going, like you start bowing, and you start going like, so kind of like, and you're like just doing all these like little head turns that Japanese do, and so you take on all that stuff. And
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
remember and especially if you're getting into voice stuff, they hired a lot of voice actors in Japan, or narrators and stuff, because a lot of times their English is quite, or Japanese is pretty good actually, so that
Okay.
the director can actually speak to you,
Yeah.
and say, rather than having a translator. I would have had a translator at that time, so if a director can say, okay, more chotto, sushi, like more quiet in this
Mhm.
thing, then the person can, then they don't need to hire somebody else, you see.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they want to have a good voice person, but if they can make so they get to know. So a lot of the voice people spoke pretty good Japanese, and I'm pretty sure Barry did by that
Hmm.
time, or at least good enough to kind of communicate with
Yeah.
some of the direction. So they become so into it, and it's a little bubble, like
Yeah. I
Japan's a
bet.
total bubble, total
Yeah.
bubble. You
I
have no
bet.
idea. You're totally the only time I've actually felt like I'm part of this world, in a sense, is living here. Actually, it's weird,
Yeah.
you know. Like Canada, I feel like I'm in Canada, in the middle of Canada, and Japan really bubble. But here, maybe it's the time zone or whatever. But I feel connected
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, us English, we're like that. We
Mm,
just
yeah, right.
it is what it
It's
is.
definitely in the middle. So, but yeah. So I think So I think the question was like, why they overacting, or why the acting came out as it was, or what was the
Yes.
question again?
So, where has it gone? I've lost my place.
Yeah,
So, were you asked during recording to up the ante on the lines, or was it down to
yeah, probably.
translation?
I think it was a combination of what I think I expected it to be,
Hmm.
to up the ante, because they state generally want that. Plus, I'm hearing and watching Barry too, and he's, through the window, I could see him
Yeah, getting into
getting
it.
into it. And then so I feel like I got to do that too, because these guys know more than I do,
Hmm.
right? And that's why there's a kind of consistency with the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's sounds, it's not like one person's being like all cool and one person, we're all kind of same in a way, right? If
Yeah.
you think
Yeah.
about it, right?
Definitely.
So I think we're taking, that's what humans do. I think you just take those sort of unconscious clues from the other actors. That's why
Hmm.
you see a good movie, everybody, like a great actor will come on set. I think everybody's game gets lifted, right?
Oh
Because,
yeah.
wow, that guy's good. I want to get, but if it's a B movie, like this guy's not very good, that person else is not that very good, and everybody seems to be kind of bad, Like, I know that sounds too harsh in a way, but
Oh no.
but if that's why sports teams are great. When you have a few good players, they
Mm.
lift everybody up, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you get this harmony going on, right? And that harmony could be on a just what's that wavelength, and sometimes a few people really help to set that,
Yeah. Oh,
I think that's
definitely.
what happened at RE.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so next then,
Go ahead.
you
Mm,
obviously spent a good few years in Japan.
mm,
So what was it that attracted you to the country in the first place? And
mm,
was there anything in particular about it that inspired you to create your
mm.
business selling those gorgeous swords?
Oh wow, there's different time periods there. So the first I was inspired to go to Japan really because of a need and desire to travel, really.
Okay.
So I wanted to, I went to university in Ontario, which is the next province over from Quebec.
Hmm.
I just wanted to, which is the equivalent of going maybe from the very south of England to the north of Scotland, kind of thing,
Oh
in
yeah,
terms
yeah.
of distance, So it's quite far, not like you can go home for a weekend type
Hmm.
thing. And it was through one of my friends, Steve. Steve said, who had graduated a year earlier than me. He said, like, Pablo, I'm teaching English or in Japan, and I think you would really enjoy it. I think it'd be
Hmm.
a great experience for you, kind of thing. And you seem to. He just knew my personality, and he thought that would be a good experience for you. So, and I thought back to Bunny, a good friend of mine. Well, first name is Renate, but we called her Bunny, and she's half Japanese, and she treated me on my 16th birthday to a Japanese restaurant. So I knew about the
Oh,
food,
yeah.
about Japanese food, and this is unusual. Like Montreal's only like 2 restaurants Japanese food, but because she had this Japanese background, and I was like, oh man, this is really good. And I really enjoyed the food. And so when he told me, and I hadn't really had any sort of contact about Japan
Hmm.
until uni, um, but once in a while I go to a Japanese restaurant with Bunny, here and there. And I went to high school with her. And anyway, this when Steve mentioned it, said, Pablo, I think you might want to go to Japan. It's a nice country. And I was like, well,
Hmm.
I like the food, and I knew Bunny's father, and then
Yeah.
this is a 22-year-old mind, like yeah, so if I can get a job, sure. And so I ended up getting an English teaching job,
Hmm.
to get to Japan,
Yeah.
So it was really more an adventurous, way of just getting out of Canada. I already knew that I didn't want to spend much time as a young guy in Canada.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
very entrepreneurial as a kid. I had my own. I was delivering papers at a very young age. But I was always like, kind of, let's do that. And then, it was a driveway sealing business when I was 18, and lifeguarding. I was always like quite busy and had a kind of an open personality to sort of experience things.
Yeah.
So this was just something that kind of attracted me. I can make money. I can actually get a job before going there, make some money, and then go, maybe. So I just, and in Canada, felt kind of stale in that sense. I didn't feel like I didn't want to work in a bank or anything like that. So that's why I went to Japan. And as I say, I was an English teacher for a company called Nova for 6 months. That's when I quit. And then another friend from university before I went said, I know you're going there to go and teach English, but you might want to take a look at some of this acting stuff and modeling, because I think you're probably good looking enough to go and do it, or something silly like that.
Yeah.
I think like honestly, that's what I think you should try, because I know he had a friend called Moro who was doing it over in Hong Kong, and so he said, just think about it, And I said, yeah, okay. And so that was in the back of my head. So when I quit the teaching, I was thinking, well, maybe I can try this, and it was really like that. So,
Yeah.
So and then. So in a nutshell, I did that for about 3 years, and then 97 went back to Canada, studied the web, the internet, and that was interesting for me because I like the creativity at all and photoshopping.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then I built this website as a project because I remember I'm doing all the modeling stuff, and so I'm trying to help. So one agency, I thought maybe I can try and help people go to Japan, because I still wanted to work with Japan even though I had left in 97.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what am I going to do now? So in 97, I'm 26, right? So then I studied this web, and then I thought, and I built my first website with this modeling agency trying to recruit people, and all of a sudden all this interest from around the world came over to go and say, I'd like to join that industry too. And so this little agency in Japan thinking, like, where are all these people coming from? And I think, well, it's from the web. And it's like, what's the web? What is the internet? What is this? And so I realized, wow, a lot of Japanese companies are probably going to want to have this, So, I knew everybody's going to eventually have a website. So I went back to Japan in 98, end of 98, to start March 4th International, which was to build bilingual websites, you see, for Japanese companies, to English and Japanese, and to be international and have a good face online. You don't have to go anywhere, but like, here's a great way of communication without having to go anywhere. I know how awkward Japanese are, right? And so that was very, that was very rewarding, because I had a number of staff and designers from around the world, from Malta, from Sweden, from everywhere, and it was really quite fun. I built this little company, but then I was a bit bored. I got bored, I guess, always building for other people, and I wanted to have my own project. And Donna and I always liked the craft industry, and so we decided to build Unique Japan, which was like a sort of a pet project to help these craftspeople get to sell their stuff internationally, because for them the fax machine was the latest in tech, and that's all, and they still use it today. And so I knew there's no way people are going to get to know these people unless they're represented online, right? So we represented them, and then I got to know other projects and other crafts, and then the knives are what really kind of cemented it, right? So all these kitchen knives, and I went to this U.S. military base because I was invited to go there to sell to the officers club. There's a lot of military in Japan, like 100,000 of them. And then they were like beeline to the knives and saying, wow, how nice. And I talk about, these knives have samurai sword background, and that's why they're so sharp. And they say, wow, like, can you get me a samurai sword actually while I'm here in Japan? And I'm like kind of laughing at them, like, really?
I
what are you
bet,
talking about? Like, I had no idea about this whole thing. He goes, dude, I heard I can get them, And I'm like, so then I actually talked to Donna about it one day at dinner or something like that, and she says, well, I know a friend who has Japanese swords. He mentioned it to me. So then he introduced me to his sword dealer, and then this Narazaki Japanese guy comes over to my studio office with all these web designers and real creative guys. He shows
Yeah.
up with this big gun case with like 3 or 4 swords in it,
Oh my God.
like right, and he's pulling out Japanese swords in the middle of this Tokyo office, and I'm like, what the hell? But I'm like, bang, wow, like a sword.
Yeah.
I'm so scared. Like he's like, shh, like he pulls out it is friggin' unbelievable when you see a sword drawn, especially the way he drew it, and I was like, am I gonna die? I'm gonna die here in Tokyo. Anyway, but he was like showing me, I was really enamored right away,
Yeah.
and then we ended up having a sales event on one of these military bases, and we sold 3 swords very quickly,
Oh
and they're
wow.
like $10,000 swords, right?
Jesus.
And so I was thinking, wow, there's something here
Hmm.
about the history, about and everything, all my time in Japan, that sort of collaboration that I talked to you about. Well, that goes everywhere, but in Japan, you really get that sense of teamwork, right? Because
Yeah.
they're very communal, And how a Japanese sword, I got to learn that it's not just one man making the whole sword. It's the sword, he makes the sword, but somebody else polishes and somebody else makes the tsuba, the guard, and it's a combination of maybe 12 different people coming in with their various craft expertise, and then we build one great samurai sword. I was like,
Hmm.
wow, this represents Japan like completely,
Yeah.
And so I went down the rabbit hole in a big way, and
Oh.
so Japan kind of went from representing many crafts to eventually just saying, we're going to focus just on the swords because this is where the market is, and it's such a huge industry just in its own, and that's where the clients are, and it's where my time is with the kids, and I couldn't juggle everything, and
Yeah.
shipping chopsticks from overseas, and it's getting more of a headache, I was like,
Yeah.
like, so unfortunately we just ended up just doing, well, those had to kind of take a back seat, and we ended up working on the Japanese swords, and ever
Yeah.
since that's really what my focus has been on. It's Japanese swords, and now as a kind of sort of side thing, I'm doing these fun videos with
Yeah.
Resident Evil and stuff, and it's but it's all about trying to inject a little bit of meaning in people's lives. I think maybe as an artist yourself too, you see how people react, and not many people were kind of blessed to visually see and help change people's way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's a great feeling to
Oh
be
God.
able
Yeah.
to do that. Most people don't have the ability to in their capacity, they just do their job, and a lot of I'm sure I'm not going to offend you when I say most of the English people I know just don't like their jobs, and they can't wait for the weekend and
Ain't
stuff. And
that the
I'm
truth?
not like that. It's like, just get it over with.
Yeah.
Kill me now. So everybody kind of runs to their comforts, whether it's alcohol or candies or whatever like that. They or moaning. They kind of let off the gas a lot here. There's a lot of steam gets built up, and then they have moan. It's like this little pressure cooker. I've noticed everybody has a little pressure cooker in their head, and they let it go by eating crisps or
Yeah.
chocolate,
Just
or
going to the pub on a
the
Friday.
pub.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a great thing, but it's a way of just of I don't like using that word cope because I use that word too often here, but it's a coping mechanism
Oh yeah.
to get through things,
Oh yeah.
but there's a nice community spirit in that, but
Hmm.
but going to the work, I enjoy what I'm doing, and people know that, and so doing this Resident Evil stuff is another way of just having fun, and
Yeah.
we're not here for very long on this planet, so
Oh,
try and make the most of it,
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
it's great to have you as part of the community, and
Mm.
for you to have found us and us to have found you. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I understand it too, It's not like, wow, like what's the big deal? Like, like I can, now that I'm playing the game, I can get it. I get it
Yeah.
more now, right? It's not like, okay, they're rallying around something, and some things you might think, okay, but I get it. And because I'm genuinely looking forward to trying solving the next step,
Yeah.
wow, what we recorded on Saturday was tremendous. It went down,
Oh,
to
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
area that there's a shark swimming in that thing, and
Yeah.
he had to like drain the thing, and
Yeah.
and then I hear like flipper, and I'm like, oh, probably the shark. That's probably the shark
Yeah.
flopping on the thing. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, there it is,
I always feel
So,
really bad for that shark when I do that.
mm,
I feel like the worst human being ever.
he does look kind of rough, actually,
Oh,
and he's like
bless him.
blocking the door and stuff, but yeah, I hope that answered your question. And
Yeah.
it was a kind of a two-parter, but it
Yeah.
was through
No,
my friends'
that's
encouragement, and then listening, and then going, yeah, it feels right. Not overanalyzing, right? I mean, we're all guilty of this now as we're getting older,
oh yeah.
of thinking, do I do that? Do I not do that? When you're younger, and And even these days, like when you say, yeah, that feels right, I'm going to do that, like
Yeah.
that's your intuition's
Yeah.
speaking to
Oh,
you, right? Very
definitely.
important to get, and I think as artists, you know that.
Yeah.
And you can always, there's 100 reasons why I shouldn't have gone to Japan, right? Like, oh, it's dangerous there. You don't know anybody, and how are you going to communicate? Like, I could have given you a huge list,
Yeah.
in 1993 why I shouldn't have gone to Japan, But there's like 3 or 4 good reasons to go, and that was enough to say
Well,
I'm
yeah,
going.
you've just got to go for it, haven't you?
It's important.
With some things. And like
Yeah.
me with my book writing, I was told a million reasons why I shouldn't do it.
Chris, as my subordinate, you have wonderful talent.
I would never work for a company like Umbrella.
Resident Evils, so many.
Oh
Like,
God, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I don't understand it, like I'm beginning to understand the characters now, and that's good. But people were trying to explain to me all the characters and all the different, and there's just like it's blew my mind how
yeah,
complicated this thing
yeah,
is, and even these like little diaries, when you're playing the game, like the journal, the gardener's diary or whatever it is, and
yeah,
you're reading it, so you read it, but you have to go back and reread it, because there's a number of clues inside, so it's like, because you want to keep playing, but you have to kind of read this thing, but
yeah.
so, and then you get stuck in something, you're like, oh, wait a second, I think the clue is back in that journal, so let's go back to that journal and take a
Yeah,
look at it.
yeah.
So,
Oh, I love
a lot
stuff
of
like
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, right, I can see that.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Mm.
So, I mean, sort of on the same vein now, I mean,
Yep.
obviously 2021 has seen the Resident Evil franchise turn 25 years old. And as part of that, a video was released of yourself reading Wesker's report.
Yeah.
Would you come back to the franchise if you were asked to?
Oh yes, most definitely.
Yeah? I
Most
think,
definitely. Yeah.
come
I
on,
would love that.
Capcom. Sort it
Yeah,
out.
come on, Capcom. Yeah, start it out. Give me throw me a bone. No, I think so. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would I not want to be part of it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it would be it'd be fun to see what they say. Like, do you want, like how read it like you did before? I don't think you would do that, but they would. Yeah, I could see that being possible. So I have one fan in the back,
Oh, you've
up
got
north in England,
thousands of us.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
will,
No.
all over
Yeah,
Twitter
no.
will be like, "Come on, Capcom!"
Do it again. Yeah. Should I play this role? Yeah,
Hashtag
okay.
bring back
Yeah,
Pablo.
Yeah. Bring back Pablo, please. Yeah. No, it'd be a lot of fun. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not, counting it. I'm not counting on it, but certainly if they were to ask, Natsukashi is a kind of a Japanese word, but kind of like nostalgic. Oh, that would be kind of fun to do that.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if something comes up.
Yeah, that would be
With all
awesome.
this VR stuff, I guess they're going to be coming up with some seriously realistic. I mean, they're not killing this franchise, right? It's kind of still going, no?
Oh yeah,
No.
it's running, sprinting, it's still going
Really?
ahead. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I can't
Amazing.
wait for the next game. But
Really,
that's going to be a
really?
while away. I mean,
Okay.
the latest one is very good. So if you ever get the chance to play the newer ones, which I think I've got a question about that later, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so Wesker is your only voice role, is that correct?
Yes.
Now that it's known you played the iconic role, has anyone asked you to do voice roles in other games? Is it something you would perhaps consider coming back to, voice acting, especially now that voice roles also include motion capture for the characters in question?
Yeah. I mean, like I say, I'd be very happy to be given the opportunity to read again and to play a future role. So that's a definite. Whether that would, I'm not sure how that would work. Would I go to a London studio or the States? I'm not sure, but that would be interesting. How they actually do record nowadays? Do they?
Yeah,
Because I see a lot of actors that say like, yeah, I have my own booth, and they just read the lines and they send it over. So much of the stuff is done away, right? But I guess if it's motion capture, then I would have to show up and stuff. But
yeah, I've seen a lot of behind the scenes of mocap stuff, and it's just, you're acting together in a room with all these things all over you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, all the dots.
Yeah.
It used to be like 9 dots. Now it's, because it's more realistic. They got like 50. Like, so it's just getting more and more realistic. Right?
Yeah.
But I've heard, was this John mentioned to me on Let's Talk Resident Evil, saying like when the faces become so realistic, the voices have to become as realistic, right?
Yeah.
So any sort of weirdness of the voice or not quite as natural, then it looks strange. That's why we got away with it, because it's just these block characters, and it didn't matter. But
Yeah.
when it gets hyper real, and if I were to go like, wow, like it would be like, well, it doesn't match that. Like, it's all gotta be in harmony, right? So yes, definitely, I would go back. There's another question in there. Can you repeat again? What you just,
Has anyone asked you to do voice
asked
roles
me,
in
yeah.
other
Well, some people
games?
have asked me to do not other games, but what people have done is, have been a few, like, I guess people are making their own little games
Oh yeah.
of Resident Evil, like their own personal projects and stuff.
Oh
And it's
yeah,
like, hey, do you
mods
think you
and
can
stuff.
read?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you read for me like these couple lines? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And I'm not charging anybody anything, I'm just quite happy just to be
Yeah.
involved, So, but no major other games or anything like that. It's just been like enthusiasts that are doing their own thing, and if I can support them in some way, then that's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh,
It's fine.
fantastic.
That's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Brilliant. I'm going to have to find a mod now that has your voice in it. So
Yeah, it was like I'll have to find, but it's yeah, I'll make a note of that, because there is a game that's out where he just had me like get on the phone and make a call as if I'm like making a call to my supervisor. And anyway, it's kind of like they had this blackmail on me type thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was kind of a cool little thing, But yeah, I'll try and make a
Oh, fantastic.
mod. Okay, yeah.
Awesome.
If I don't write it down, I'm gonna forget. So,
I'm
okay,
exactly
all
the
right.
same. I have to write everything down.
I have my journal like every week, like
Oh,
it's just like
goodness.
I pencil. I won't do it, Like, so anyway, yeah.
To-do
Okay.
list, tick it off.
Yeah.
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 So you've recently been playing through RE1 for the first time with your son and posting the videos on YouTube, as we've been discussing. How's that been for you? And do you have any plans to play through the rest of the series, either for YouTube or perhaps live streaming on the Twitch platform?
Well, I'm not playing, right? My son's playing, and the experience has been just awesome and enlightening, in the sense that I've been able to understand, what the fuss is all about. Like why, what's going on here,
Yeah.
And I can see how, the camera angles, the dialogue's part of it, but it's just this idea that, and it's kind of quirky, right? I mean, you have these herbs to feel better, like, what's this all about? It's smoking something here, I should know. But it's like these herbs and first aid spray, and it seems to know when you're close to dying, or like it's planted in the right spots.
Yeah.
But it's just given me a more of appreciation of where why the game was as popular as it was, and I can see it. It's not hard for me to go back to 1996 and to sort of see where what was happening at that time. This is when I was studying the web around that time too. So it was everything was sort of new and wow, exciting, and so it's been fun, connecting with, like, he's a 12-year-old boy and he's getting his own way, and
Yeah.
so how much do we talk? We talk, how was your day at school? And he shares, but he's like, but when we have these 3 hours together, we're bolted next to each other, in a sense, with this green screen next to us, and we're right close, so we don't have the size of the green screen, because our previous videos had like the green screen cut out. We're like,
Oh
so bad,
God, yeah.
But it's like, but it doesn't matter, but now we're like trying to get the production value a little bit better and the lights a little bit better, but he's enjoying the father-son time. So
Oh,
on a
fab.
personal level, that's nice, right?
Yeah.
That's very rewarding, and seeing his frustration, right? Because you must have, if you remember playing yourself, like, God, what do I do next? And
Yep.
especially if you're alone, you're thinking, like, who can I call? I can't call anybody.
Yeah.
I can't cheat at this thing, right? So we're trying not to cheat, although once in a while we get stuck and we're like, oh, how do we figure this next thing out?
Yeah.
But we're trying to be quite, we're genuinely like figuring it out as we're going along. So I'm genuinely enjoying the game, the puzzles, the elation of actually figuring something out, and when you do figure something out, something relatively dramatic happens.
Yeah.
Whether a door opens up, or you know, and it's fun to see that it's not just me that's figuring it out. He's figuring out things
Mhm.
quicker than I am,
Yeah.
you know, and that's really fun to see his brain turning, and because you know, like we pick up something like that red book, for example, we pick the red
Yeah.
book, and I said, "Why is this red book?" And then we get to this bookshelf, and then he takes out a white book, and then there's a space, and I knew immediately, like I
Yeah.
had to put the red book, but he didn't, you know. So what do you think we have to do now? And he goes, I don't know. I go, maybe red book. He's like, red book, and then a red book, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you know, like this other door, and
Yeah.
he's like, wow, you know, and it's that sort of wow, right?
Yeah.
Moments that happen a lot actually in that game. So that's so it's been terrific. It's been terrific just playing the game, and we have plans to yeah, we were thinking about once we finish, I guess to do Chris, right?
Oh yeah.
To try and do because he's more difficult, I suppose, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? Is it a lot harder? I don't know if it's a lot harder.
It is quite a lot harder. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh man, I don't know. So maybe Chris, but we should do Resident Evil remake, I suppose, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
Very,
Right? Would
very
you say
good.
would I do Resident Evil remake before? You know, this is where we actually ask our friends and stuff,
Mhm.
like whether we do next. Do we do RE? If you or me, you know? Let's say we complete it.
Mhm.
Do we do? Is it fun for you to? I'm not sure if you're watching, but like, you think it's fun to watch us take on the role of Chris, or should we move on to?
Oh.
What did you do? Did you do the Chris? Like you
I
started with Jill.
I
presumably,
started
no?
with Jill. Yeah, I've always
Yeah.
been a Jill girl, always.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh,
um,
is there something like that in Resident Evil, by the way? Like people, I guess, feel more of a connection to certain characters,
yeah,
right? But
yeah,
I mean, you're a
definitely.
woman, so I don't know what. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why, right? Right.
I tried Chris when I was little, and it didn't work out, so
Yeah. Right.
I
Okay.
just moved on.
Right. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Moved on to the next game. Like you didn't even
Yeah, so I went
bother.
on
Yeah. Okay.
to Resident Evil 2,
Yeah.
which
Yeah. Okay.
actually became my favorite game in the franchise. It's very, very good.
People tell
So
me that. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would recommend playing that, both Leon and Claire's campaigns, because you've got
Okay.
two of those, Leon A and Claire B, and then you've got Claire A and Leon B. So you've got two sides to the story for each character. It's
Oh wow.
fantastic. Yeah,
Oh wow.
really great game.
Oh, that's really great. That's really great. So, and then what about the remake, the RE1 remake? Is it the same? Is it basically the same thing, or they've changed it?
It's basically the same, but they've added bits. I don't
Oh,
want to
okay, they have.
spoil it for you.
Oh yeah, no, I know. But as long as I know that, that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Whether, for example, like knocking the statue from that second floor onwards to get the jewel, is that
Yep.
part of that game? You knock
Yes.
them, like that'll be in there, right?
Yeah, a lot. All of the puzzles are pretty much the same,
I
but
see.
they have added some extra ones like later on. So, yeah,
Okay.
it's amazing, absolutely beautiful game.
Wow.
Highly recommended. So,
I still don't even know how far we are in the game. Like now that we're downstairs with those sharks and
Mhm.
stuff, is that like a
Oh.
third of the way, halfway?
I
I
would
don't know.
say because I speed run the game,
Yeah, right.
that would be. I'd say that'd be about halfway, maybe.
Yeah, it feels about halfway. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
unless you're
Right.
world record holder, in which case you're 3/4 of the way through at that point. So
No,
yeah,
yeah.
the
Well,
times are
is
crazy.
this Matt RPG guy?
I
Matt?
know him very, very well. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually moderate for him on Twitch. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay, so he's asking me to be to come on as an interview.
yes, he said, yeah,
And I'm happy to do that. But and he said, well, maybe I can do Chris, and I'm like, I'm not sure whether I have to get back to him. He asked me a couple of days ago.
Mhm.
I don't know what to say, like because I don't want to ruin it for my experience with Lennon, Like,
yeah,
so,
of
that's
course.
it's a simple reason. It's the only. It's not like I don't want to do it. It's like about timing,
Mhm.
But then if he does a future one, we want to do that too and stuff. So
Yeah,
I don't want to give you things away, But yes, we plan on doing more. It's maybe it's again it's a time together that
Mhm.
we're genuinely enjoying it. It's fun to do together.
yeah,
I'm not sure how much you're gonna get. He's getting bigger and bigger. Like pretty soon it's gonna be like these two men. Like but it's kind of funny to see his face change over
yeah,
this thing. So yeah, we plan on doing more and yeah, maybe I'll read some more. Like if I were to read Wesker's report now, I'd read it even different, differently, because
Yeah.
now I know more about the game, and
Hmm.
but there's another one, right? Isn't there a Wesker's report too or something?
I
Like there's not just one Wesker's report, right?
There's a few, yeah,
Yeah.
because he has his own sort of campaign in a later game as well, in the Umbrella Chronicles, which I've not
Mm,
actually played, so I really must get on and do that. And I call myself a
mm.
Resident Evil fan. Oh my god.
All right. Okay. I mean, I'm getting. We'll have to get to that later, but like that whole village. I mean, Nemesis is always telling me and giving me whenever I have a question, he just comes back to me really
Yeah,
quickly with like when I ask like, what's this village stuff or this? Because he's really into it.
yeah,
Wow, like he's mesmerized, But yeah, I still don't know really understand how these offshoots and what it
hmm,
means, but it's okay.
yeah,
I'm learning, and I'll get drip fed as I as I get along.
yeah. As you
But
play
RE
the
one, two,
games,
three, by the way, are like ones everybody talks about. By the way, do you feel the same way?
yes, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
RE one, two, three, and then it's different after.
yeah.
But like the
So
first three are their favorite. That's what people say.
you've got 1, 2, 3, and then you've got Code Veronica, which is the last sort of old school way of playing with the fixed camera angles and that. That's quite a
Oh, that's
difficult
why.
game. I'm not a fan of it, but
Mm,
a lot of people
yeah.
absolutely adore it. And then from
Okay.
4 onwards, it goes more action horror as opposed
Mm,
to survival horror. But I quite like it.
mm.
And then obviously 7 and 8 has gone to first person, so they've gone back to the survival horror element
Oh,
with
really?
it, which is
With with fixed angles and all that kind of stuff?
so
Yeah.
it's just first person, so not fixed camera angles, but it gives you more immersion into the game as you're seeing
It's
it
through
through.
the eyes. Like I
Yeah,
see. Yeah.
yeah,
Are you the eyes?
yeah,
Like you're basically what you see is like as if you're in the eyes of the person
yeah,
that's playing. Is that right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And one of them's got a VR option as well, which, oh no,
Oh,
thank you. That would make
oh,
me feel really
no.
sick. But
Right, right. Everybody, yeah, I know. That's the future though, right?
yeah,
Big time, big
yeah,
time. Like, but I think I saw one where it looks like more of an over the shoulder type situation
yeah.
too,
That
right?
is 2 and 3 remake have done it over the shoulder.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
2 remake is very good. 3,
No. Okay.
no, not really.
I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it seems people really quite passionate about like which ones they really. I heard RE5. A lot of people really love RE5.
Yeah,
I don't know.
great game. Great
Yeah.
game. I
Mm,
mean, that's the end of
exciting.
Wesker's story. So we'll get to that in a little bit, actually, the
Yes.
RE5. So, um,
Love it.
right then. So, Wesker has become one of the most iconic video game villains of all time. How
Mm.
does it feel knowing that you started it all and that the character you began has developed so much throughout the years?
Oof. Well, I mean, what can I say? Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's
Mm,
pretty cool. It's pretty cool to know that uh, that I've had this quasi impact on the gaming world in some way, and I think this whole Resident Evil survival horror set the standard, right? I mean, it
yeah,
was like it's first, right? So it's great to be part of something that was new, fresh, and started something, right?
yeah,
And that's a kind of unusual for Japan too, by the way, because Japan tends to copy, right?
hmm,
They didn't invent the car, but they copied the car and made it better, and
hmm,
they tend to take technologies and ideas from others and then make it their own type thing. So kind of cool that Japan started something
hmm.
new and interesting, but it feels good to be bad, It feels good to be like to be like I didn't like I did I clock in about how vicious he was in this first one? Not really, I suppose, right? I
Hmm.
didn't really, but I could tell that he was snarky, and it's like it gives you an expression of a kind of an alter ego,
Yeah.
because I'm a generally pretty friendly guy and stuff, and so this is I remember thinking, well, this is kind of cool. I can like be a bit like conniving, and I can be me because
Hmm.
I'm kind of me in that, right? I'm not. I mean, you hear me, you're getting to know me now. I love it, and the way that I realized I was smiling when I did some of those remake stuff. I was like, I realized I was actually smiling on some of these things. So, like I'm smirking a little bit,
Yeah.
and that would be me. I would be like, like that too. So I feel like I that that I what's nice about it is that I feel like I acted
Hmm.
the role, but I played myself in some. I'm pretty genuine to who I am
Hmm.
in those scenes, and that's cool. It's not like some people would say, so how, Tom, you really changed like, how did you get into personality there? Like,
Mm.
I didn't do that, right?
Yeah.
I did it as if I am good, but I can't remember thinking or whether I was given direction, okay, to, by the way, please be friendly at the beginning, and then, by the way, later on, you're not so friendly. I don't remember consciously trying to fool them, right?
Hmm.
From just reading the lines, and then when the line comes, because I'm reading the lines, I remember just like I would have maybe 3 or 4 breaks in between, but it wasn't like I read and then she was next to me and Jill or something like that. It was like I remember just reading my respective lines, and then when you obviously you get a sense of what that line was,
Yeah.
like Barry's such a fool, and I was like, oh, okay, now I'm like supposed to be sarcastic a little bit, like Barry's such a fool. He'll be under the control of Umbrella forever,
Oh my
like
goodness.
so I had to like kind of say it like, and I was like, yeah, like that's how I would be,
Yeah.
So I like the fact that it's to be the bad sort of villain and to know that I wasn't trying to be the villain. I feel like, yeah, I think everybody has a villainous side, and I think
Oh
that's,
yeah.
and
Definitely.
I think it kind of somehow, uh, came to fruition in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh.
it's a good feeling. It's great. I liken it a little bit like to kind of Darth Vader. Maybe that's wrong, but it's a little bit like Darth Vader of games.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just trying to because I'm trying to tell my parents. It became quite big. Really, yeah, it's a little bit like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. They're 80. Like so. It's like, how do you explain this to them?
Yeah.
But they're
Oh.
finding it quite. They're quite. Whether they totally understand me, I don't know. But they kind of find it all very very strange. But
Yeah.
overall, very very happy. And yeah, like I say, like the whole nostalgia thing. It reminds me of Japan.
Mm.
It reminds me of not just the character is a snapshot of where I was, and to know that that's played a springboard effect.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's overreaching to say that if the characters didn't resonate with people, then the game probably wouldn't have been very successful, right? So the fact that Wesker's character somehow, it seems to be, and I don't, I mean, Jill and all, I mean, every character resonated, but there's something about Wesker that a lot of people are really quite into, right?
Yeah.
That if it didn't hit as hard as it did, would the game be as successful? Probably, but at least I know I played some roles to kind of, you know, put the nail in
Well, yeah. I mean,
in the wood there to say, okay, yeah,
yeah. I mean, you started Wesker, and he was in it for so long, just because he resonated, like you say, with so many people. If he hadn't, he wouldn't have been in any of the other games. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
it's
it was like, because if somebody were to meet me today and I was like some killer, they would be quite surprised. I think, like, wow, he doesn't surprise me as that kind of guy,
yeah,
like so that's and so because if you listen to well, maybe because everybody knows he's bad, 2, 3, 4, that he sounds bad, like he
hmm,
sounds evil, right?
yeah,
And if I had sounded that way from the beginning, you'd think, oh, this, like you said, a little bit sus.
yeah,
And English people are a little bit sus, right? They're looking for the sus all the time, right? But if I was like, okay, come over here, yeah, all right, and then you'd be like, oh, he's definitely a bad guy. I don't get a
mm,
good feeling from him. You didn't get that completely, right, from that
no,
beginning. Like you would have felt, oh, okay, seems like why is he wearing those sunglasses? But you didn't think too much. You didn't think definitely evil, right? And that's so a job done, right? In that
yeah,
sense, right? I fooled at least that part, and then I guess it comes out later on then that really, your umbrella and all that,
yeah,
and they generally seem all surprised, and a lot of people have told me that in their comments, saying they genuinely surprised me, like when I
yeah,
found out that you weren't the person I thought you were,
yeah,
and I like being tricked, like people like that sort of, yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Just
figuring it out.
that
You know?
moment
So it's
when
good.
you're 10 years old and it happens and you're like, no.
Right? That's so good. No, it can't be, you know. He's supposed to help, you know. Like he's
Yeah,
supposed to
it's
be on the
supposed to
side.
be my best friend in the game and
Yeah,
shooting
yeah.
bees and stuff, you know.
That's right. We
Oh,
got to those bees, by the way. We hit the
oh,
bees, and we did
yes.
the bees and that spider, and now we
Oh,
got to try
yeah.
and figure it out. But we're a little bit lost because we got I don't know, but we did pretty well in the last. It's going to come out hopefully next Sunday.
Oh,
It'll
fab.
be published. You know,
I'll
yeah.
keep an eye out
Looking
for
forward.
it because I
Yes,
do
please do.
enjoy
Please do.
them. I do.
What do you mean?
Since when have you been an Umbrella agent? And a traitor to the stars?
Now you're wrong. I was formerly with Umbrella, yes. But now I'm prepared to face anything. Even getting rid of you vigilante stars.
Wesker's story comes to an end in RE5 when Chris and his partner Sheva killed off the long-standing villain. Whilst it was an end to the story of betrayal that was started in RE1, a lot of fans were upset that Jill didn't get to pull the trigger along with Chris. As the person who started that betrayal originally, what are your thoughts on this ending to Wesker's story?
I don't know how much I can comment on this really because I didn't know, I didn't play the game. I've seen him die, you know. Well, it makes me think, should game developers pay more? You see, Japanese people are very thoughtful, right? I mean, it's weird that they would but they do make mistakes. If this seems to be a mistake. But it's not like they try to upset people by, I can see what maybe some people might think of it as being chauvinistic. I don't know, like not having Jill involved. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm maybe pulling things up, but it's sad that that he dies, but I think he's progressively looking pretty bad, right? I mean, I'm looking at the he's getting quite juiced up. Like
Oh,
he looks like
yeah.
he's on some sort of steroid. Like it looks nothing like what I'm. Yeah, so I think he had to come to it. He's kind of like self-combusting there in some sense, right? But so it upsets me a little bit because not the first time I've heard people say like, I can't believe Jill wasn't part of this. You know, like Nemesis is completely upset about this. He told Matt on the interview. I'm not sure if you feel that way. If you're a Jill girl, obviously you felt a little bit pissed off, probably.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I share your pain. I share your pain because obviously the revenge wasn't as sweet as it should have been, perhaps, right? Does that mean that Wesker is definitely not coming back? Is he? I mean, there's always a way, right?
There's always a
know,
way
right?
in
There's always a
Resident
way,
Evil.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always a way. So maybe Jill will, and Jill is still alive, presumably, right? She's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, knowing Japanese, maybe they're gonna somehow come around to that and figure out something up. But I feel, I see the injustice in some sense, but life is. I don't know. I'm thinking about it now a bit more because, like, it would have just been too Hollywood, you know, it's only natural that they're both going to get the revenge. That's what we would typically see in a movie.
Well, yeah.
So maybe that's why they said, well, that's what we would normally see. So therefore, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, potentially.
The Japanese really think on different levels, you know, like a lot deeper than we might think. You know, they do think, right?
Yeah.
And so there was a reason for it.
Yeah. Okay, so during the work on Resident Evil, did you become close with any of the cast and hang out? Or did you keep in touch with any of them? And if not, how would you feel about doing some sort of cast reunion, perhaps as part of the 25th anniversary celebrations?
Yeah, I think it was only Sergio that I think Sergio had a voice role. Somebody said he did, and I don't even know what he did, but it was only Sergio that I was friends with before and subsequently friends with after. He was a funny guy, right? So Sergio's a good 10 years older than I am, and he had all these Hollywood stories because he worked on General Hospital and
Oh, wow.
and all these different like is that, I'm not even sure if that soap opera still exists, but he was on that show, and so he had all these funny stories about Hollywood. So, and I would see him after, at night sometimes and just chill out. But I didn't get to know other members of the, that well. It was more like just job done, and that's it. And getting together in the future. Yeah, I think Barry would find it. It would be fun. I have no problem seeing any of those guys and reminiscing and getting together. And I've thought about going to some of these shows, these game shows. Maybe I don't know.
Yes. Yeah,
Like
go
maybe
to
just show.
a
I'm not sure
con.
how to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to a con.
So this is the last question. Blimey. So I'm sure you're well aware of the live action scenes in RE1 by now. And it was another actor who played him. Were you aware at the time that there were live action sequences going on? And did you know any of the cast personally?
Yes, Eric Furious.
Yeah, you mentioned Eric. Yeah.
So Eric is he played Wesker, and we never talked about it. I didn't know that he was the live action guy until I started looking at these videos when somebody told me, "Are you Albert Wesker?" So I didn't know, and it would have been funny because I was seeing him regularly on auditions, and sometimes when again these businessmen. They want to have one dark-haired guy, one blonde guy, like it's simple as that. Let's have a bit of a mix, and have one of the, the big pointy nose, and Eric would be there too. So, but I didn't know that he was. Okay. So to answer your question, didn't know that there was live action people. Didn't know that.
Okay.
I didn't know. But I did know Eric, and we may have had drinks a couple of times.
Yeah.
And if I were to call him today, we would really. Be quite fun just to talk because it's whole Japan club thing, right? You would see the same 20 guys going to auditions all the time, and Coy and Gaz and Eric and Pablo. It was like, oh, next job, looking for men between 25 and 35. Please go audition 4:00 Ginza Station. See you there. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you see the same guy. It was really like that, So it'd be kind of fun to see him, but I didn't know. Everything seemed kind of quasi secretive, and Japanese are quite secret in general, right? So they wouldn't have been like, oh, this is going to be a great game, and we're doing this, and they were in the back probably smoking a cigarette while we're doing it. They all smoke in Japan, especially back then, and and they would have just been observing. They take great joy in just observing stuff, right? So. So I didn't know about the live action thing, but it was nice to see it all come together. And actually, even in the live action, my voice is one of the first ones, actually, just in the very beginning of the game, actually,
Alpha Team is flying around the forest zone situated in northwest Raccoon City, where we're searching for the helicopter of our compatriots Bravo Team, who disappeared during the middle of our mission.
You haven't found it?
No, I haven't found it yet.
Well, I didn't realize that. It's great at the beginning.
On the helicopter, yeah.
Right? Yeah, there's I say something. I don't know what it is.
I can't remember now.
But it's that's a cool, it's just really, it just encapsulates my time in Japan, the sort of freeness, the adventure of it all.